I just filmed this whole video and did like the intro and the middle and the end, and I just realized it wasn't even recording. Guys, I don't know what to do with all these emotions. Okay, so if you had watched the old video, you would know that I am hyper caffeinated today because I made far too much coffee and my head is all over the place, clearly. But I am here with my natural hair and my natural glow and my natural earring, which I can't find the second one. It's just somewhere, I don't know. So for the second time, today I am going to share with you some bullet journal spreads that I just don't use anymore. Why am I sharing this video? I don't know. I just thought it would be kind of fun to tell you which of like the really popular spreads just don't work for me and what works for me instead. And I thought it would be really cool to tell you that it's okay not to like all of the spreads that are on Pinterest or all of the like really popular spreads on Instagram that get like 300,000 likes. You don't have to enjoy everything that everyone else enjoys. That's okay. So yeah, if you like this video, if you like breaking the status quo, if you like going against the grain, or if you like just being lazy and not wanting to do all of those spreads, then remember to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel below, because I put out new videos every single week. So yeah, I'm going to be in one of these four corners and you can see the overhead footage. So let's jump in. So the first spread that I don't use is the very first page of a standard bullet journal, and that is the index. I don't use indexes or indices, is that the word, anymore. So they came pre-printed in both of my Lodge terms, because this had page numbers printed on to each page. These came with pre-printed page numbers, so it kind of made sense to have an index, because sometimes you don't want to flip through every single page to find out where the month starts or where your collections are, stuff like that. More about collections later in the video. Yeah, so if you can't be bothered to keep flipping back and forth, then an index is great. Except that Leuchtturm is like the only brand that gives you pre-printed page numbers, and all of the journals I've used after that, including my Moleskine, has no page numbers. And actually I found that even when I was using my Leuchtturms, the only reason I would actually use the index, or the only time I would actually use the index, was when I was about to film a flip through and I had to go back and like make the index all pretty and colorful and neat and pretend like I used them, just so I didn't have an empty index when I flipped through my bullet journal for you guys. So the next spread that I don't use anymore, and I don't know if this is necessarily a spread, but I don't use a key. So if you watch the video that Ryder Carroll posted about what is a bullet journal or the bullet journal system, the very first thing he tells you is the key. And I just can't be bothered with it. I genuinely can't. It is the foundation of the bullet journal system and I just can't be bothered with it. Why? Because I just never use it. So I've had flip out keys or like pre-printed keys in one case in all of my bullet journals. Without fail, I will make signifiers and I will say, okay, a dot is a task, a square is a meeting, and a cross is an event. and I just go into my daily pages and make open circles and fill them in as I get through every task, event, meeting, whatever. Just never use it. Recently, I said, you know what, Srish, we're going to try again, okay? We've bought beautiful art line fine liners. They write so nicely, they are so pigmented, and they are such nice colors, so vibrant. And we need to stop being black, white, and grey. So you know what? We're going to make a key, and we're going to say orange is for chores, and blue is for exercises, and pink is for content, and like purple is for YouTube videos, and gold is for my podcast. And I did that. I used it for 1 week, and then I gave up again. A key is just not for me. I am just going to make it up as I go. Some weeks my tasks are circles, some weeks they are squares. I don't even care anymore. At this point, I've just made peace with the fact that I'm not the kind of person who uses a key in my bullet journal. And speaking of index and key, the next spread that I completely gave up on is the Calendex. So the Calendex is basically a smaller version or a compressed version of an index or a future log, kind of putting the two together. So it's like, am I actually going to find this functional? No. Am I going to flip back to it to look for future events? No. So why am I even making this? It's just a waste of space. So I said, you know, from like my Creely notebook onwards, we are going to just make a standard future log. We're going to have mini calendars for each month, and then we're going to write important dates just under it. And that worked so much better, and it still works so much better for me. And this time with my Rhodium Minds notebook, I actually decided that I'm going to just use like a 6-month future log. Anything beyond that can go on my phone, right? And anything beyond that doesn't even exist, except for like birthdays, which are already in my head. So it's like, no, we're just going to keep it simple, keep it professional. No more Calendex, no more future log. We're just going to like deal with what's coming. The present is a gift. The fourth kind of spread that I don't use anymore is collections. Now, I know, right? I was so fascinated by collections, and that was like one of my favorite parts of bullet journaling, was that it was so unlimited, not bound by any like rules, that you could literally just make a list of things you want to buy, or things you enjoy, or movies you want to watch, or books you want to read. My master reading list was like made over 3 days, carefully compiled, all these titles of books that I really needed to read and I wanted to read my whole life. And I read maybe 2 books out of that reading list. 2 books out of like 30. When it comes time to watch a movie, I just Google psychological thrillers of 2017, and the first IMDb result is what I watch. That's how it works. I've literally never flipped back to a collection for any reason. So, collections, just a waste of my time, waste of my energy, waste of my paper, not going to happen anymore. Oops, my dad just called me. In case you're wondering why my phone is blowing up with notifications, it was my dad. So the spread that I don't use anymore, that breaks my heart so much, is the mood mandala. As someone with a mood disorder or 2, I need some way to track my mood and track like all the factors that affect it. And I used a line graph for the longest time, or like a dot graph, or whatever you call it, for the longest time, and I got bored of it. So I thought, you know, I'm going to try a mood mandala. So the way it works is that you assign a color to each mood, and you like draw circles, and like each ring corresponds to a date in the month, a date rather. And as you go through the month, you add like a color for what you're feeling each day. And by the end of the month, and like you draw designs on it, and by the end of the month, you have a really beautiful, really intricate mandala to show for your mood. And they turned out so nice. And I got so many likes on Instagram, and I loved the aesthetic. I loved it. Except it told me nothing. I could look at all of these colors and it would mean nothing. And I'm not the kind who would sit down and look at each color on the key. And I mean, you know how much I love keys. You already know. So it told me nothing about my mood. It was just like a pretty thing to look at. And the whole reason I started tracking my mood was to see what factors affect it. And I can't tell from a mood mandala what it is. So I guess after some time, I just realized, as pretty as it is, as heartbreaking as it is, this is just not functional for me. So I've gone back to making the dot charts. They're not as fun anymore and not as entertaining, but they do give me much better insight into what factors affect my mood. So the final spread that I don't use anymore, and it's so sad, is the day to a page. Well, I kind of don't use it the way I used to. So I used to have a timeline of the hours in a day and have all my tasks split by hour. And I used to use one page for one day. And that gave me so much space to plan things out or draw or doodle or create some cool art or take part in like the Florals Your Way challenge, which was the most fun challenge I've ever had. So I used it for that, and then I realized it is such a waste of paper. I used to run through bullet journals like that when I had a day to a page. And I thought, for what it's worth, like for the amount of space it's using up, I just don't get as much use out of it as I should be. So I switched to doing 2 pages per day. So I moved to doing 2 pages per day for the last month. And that was great, except there was no space for me to think and write any like plans for my podcast or like my blogs or whatever. So I decided, I'm going to go back to 1 page per day. And I'm going to make it a little more exciting by adding all these like cool gadgets. So I'm going to start tracking what meals I have through the day, what I put into my body. I'm going to track how much I hydrate or how much water I drink, because my medication causes me to be so dehydrated. It's like when I wake up, it feels like I've just deep-throated a cactus. And that is not a good look on anyone, no matter who you are. That is not a good look on Kim Kardashian. And that girl can get away with anything. I'm doing this for 2 days now, and it's been working fine. And it feels worth the effort of making like extra columns and stuff. But we will see how that goes. And there you go, guys. I think that's all the spreads that I don't use anymore. What was the point of this video? I don't know. I mean, it's not like you're learning anything from this. I guess this is just me giving you the validation to know that you don't have to like every single spread that all the popular bullet journal people like, and you don't have to stick to like the system. The whole point of bullet journal, or the way I understand it, is for you to be able to customize it for what best works for you. I guess that's the whole point of this video. And if you like this, if you like more like real talk videos about bullet journaling, and if you like this informative video about deep throating cacti, then leave this video a thumbs up down below and leave me a comment telling me what you'd like to see in the future, what more you'd like me to talk real about. And if you're enjoying all of this stuff, then please take a second to support me by going and listening to my podcast. It is completely free. Yes, it's on a Patreon page because you can support the podcast and listen to like extended versions of each episode. but the core value of it is free. Whew. My head is all over the place today. So thank you so much for spending some time with me and my snoring dog today. You know, we love spending time with you every week or every day if you've been on my social media, which if you haven't, you should be. Check it out. All the links are in the description. I'm going to funnel you to all of my content so you can get it and you can enjoy it and you can spend more time with me, because I have no friends, guys. I have only you. So spend some time with me, okay? Anyway, thank you so much for being here today and getting real with me. You know I always love doing that stuff with you. And I will see you again next week. Bye.